Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist. Stay for this video, especially if you have kids and you're wondering what's the best way to go about introducing them to firearms training, what's a good idea, what's not a good idea. So in this video, I'm going to be reacting to a video from a channel called Autumn's Armory. It's an 8-year-old girl that's shooting different guns and such. This was asked from a viewer from my Spanish channel. Guy, by the way, I have almost 200,000 subscribers on my Spanish channel. We were kind of dragging here in the English one, so I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel, especially if you like the content here. So yes, stay for this video because it had a kind of interesting turn of events. I was actually criticizing a lot of what you're going to be seeing here in this channel of this 8-year-old girl shooting, and my wife started shouting at me like, you're such a hypocrite, you took your 8-year-old shooting back in the day. I had honestly forgotten about it. The thing that my wife does not know is that I went in a very different, completely different way about it. I've been shooting since I'm 14 years old. I had my first serious firearms course on defensive shooting when I was 15 years, and I took a course on firearms as a firearms instructor training, so I know how to instruct other people how to use firearms, which is not always the case. Most people don't have that kind of knowledge and understanding, and it shows. You can tell the difference. Firearms are not toys, they're not Barbie dolls, they're not Nerfs, and you should not treat them like such. Let's go through the videos, here's what this is about, and then comment a little bit more. And I'd love to hear your opinion on all this. If you agree with me or not, either way, I'd like to know what you're thinking. So, 8-year-old girl shooting, in this case, it's Smith & Wesson EC 380.
This is probably going to be like 500 Magnum, at least.
No, it is not.
The first thing to point out, the gun handling is not really all that safe. I would love to see the gun being pointed at. One of the differences for my own kid, my son at that age was very much aware of where the muzzle was pointing at, so always keeping it pointed down range. You see several times here where she kind of gets a little bit distracted and starts breaking that angle all the time. Guys, gun safety is not about doing it sometimes or even 95% of the time. If your kid cannot be aware of the muzzle, where it's being pointed at 100% of the time, then you probably want to step it down a little bit and go back to some more basics. Maybe go with a long gun, maybe even an air gun in that length, or even a 22 rifle, which is easier for them to be aware of where the muzzle is being pointed at.
Oh, it's kind of a two-finger. I can get my middle finger.
Yeah.
So she needs two fingers to pull the trigger. The grip it's a bit of a smaller gun, you know.
Does it?
It kicks at least.
Sometimes she forgets the finger inside the trigger guard. Sometimes she remembers. It is what it is.
3/4 of the way up to a 9mm.
Okay.
It really kicks.
Okay.
Starts moving with the gun around like that. That's not what you want to see.
We get a jam?
Hold that.
Pointing at her feet, pretty much. Her hand in front of the barrel. Several times I've seen it.
Round. Great. Chamber one. There you go. Oh, get no eject.
That hand,
Like
man.
a single action. Or
Single
something.
shot. Single shot with mag. This is a brand new gun, but this is not looking good.
That finger of hers.
No, it's not ejecting.
So I don't know if the father honestly does not know how firearms work. May well be the case. I don't know if he's pretending not to know. I mean, I can tell you right away. I know exactly what's going on here. I know why she's having problems. It's got nothing to do with a gun. But You know, anyone sponsoring this, and we'll get to that in a second, but anyone sponsoring this, look how they're talking about the gun not working properly when it's really a matter of the operator of the gun, which is an 8-year-old little girl, which probably should not be handling this type of firearm if she hasn't got the build for it yet. She should be waiting a little bit more until she's actually bigger and can hold the gun properly. Anyway, this goes on for a while.
It's like not even opening at all. I guess you could just leave the mag in.
So.
That it?
Yep.
All right, that thing runs great.
No, it does not run great.
That's weird.
It's not weird. It actually makes perfect sense. And even as a parent, I wouldn't like to, trick my kid into believing something is not what it is. In this other video, she's shooting a SIG M18.
I'm gonna shoot some soda cans.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And here's
Copper bullet. Just look at that.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
It's made by ZQI.
Yes, it is.
Right there's the box it came in.
And I love the silhouette guy.
Yeah. Oh, honey, this says keep out of reach of children.
Oh, poop that.
And, hey.
honey, here it says keep out of reach of children, poop that. So the father knows that, sure, ammunition will say keep out of the reach of children. Firearms will say, any firearms manual will say keep out of reach of children. There's a reason for that, because it's usually not a good idea to have your kids handle firearms, right? That's, of course, within certain parameters, and as we all know, yes, you can't teach your kids. I mean, and by the way, guys, my wife, I was just doing this video before, my wife started screaming, shouting, you took your 8-year-old shooting back in the day. And she's actually correct. I forgot about it, but I took my 8-year-old shooting back in the day, but I did it in a very different manner, all right? It's completely different when you do things properly than when you don't. And in this case, I don't see that happening. What I do see here, though, is this.
Who gave us these rounds?
Terry.
Yeah.
From Acme Tactical.
Acme Tactical, yeah. Someone go buy a gun from him. He gives us all our ammo lately.
Okay, so it's a channel. It's a monetized channel, a monetized firearms channel. Okay, and if Dad had done this channel, no one would be watching it. No one gives a damn about Dad shooting guns, because there's a lot of other gun channels from adults. The only reason why you're clicking on this and why I'm doing the video is because there's a little 8-year-old involved. So do you want to pimp your kids for a few internet money, for a few YouTube bucks? I personally don't think that's a good idea. I don't like that. I think that's actually quite wrong. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't pimp my kids for YouTube money, honestly. And there's kids that actually do this on their own. They have the initiative, and they're very forward thinking in terms of having their channel and such. And every once in a while, a mother opens a bedroom door and sees that his son has a gamer channel and has 1 million subscribers. It has happened before. This is different. This is Dad living through his 8-year-old little girl and pimping her for the gun community, because she's wearing they're having the merchandising, they're making money from this, and he's making money out of something that it's perfectly fine and innocent and good, as long as you do it for the right reasons. When you start doing it for the wrong reason, which is how can I monetize my 8-year-old girl, I don't think that's correct. And especially when you see these things going on, using a gun that she's clearly not capable of handling well.
22, any type of gun, gives us the ammo for it.
Yeah.
So
Even
they
if
think
we
the
say we have
sponsors.
enough of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot some soda cans.
Okay.
I just gotta see with it.
Okay.
Look at how she holds the gun. She cannot even.
Gotta see with it.
So she's going like this. She's holding the gun like with her tiny little hands, holding it on one side and the other, and using both fingers to pull the trigger because she hasn't got the strength for it.
I don't know if this is sighted in or not. Apparently it is.
Woo! That thing's fun.
Heck yeah!
Now she's keeping the gun pointed downrange. That's good, but again, it has to be all the time. If not, these are guns. These are not toys.
Oh, right in the middle.
Got a jam.
Got a jam.
Got a jam. Surprisingly, the 8-year-old little girl is having a lot of jams. That's probably because all of these guns are defective, right?
All right, let's check that out.
Okay, hold that. Okay, we got that jam cleared. I'm gonna start shooting that steel more.
She talks like an adult. She's obviously watching the gun channels and using the,
Another stovepipe.
Yeah.
Let's try some different ammo.
Yeah.
So Dad here suggests using different ammo. I don't know if he's really thinking that this is all caused by defective ammunition.
Going careful because I don't want to. There you go. Okay, so now we got some blazer ammo because that ZQI was not working well.
I'm sure ZQO is very happy that they gave ammunition to this channel so as to get that impression, so that people think that the gun is not good, the ammunition is not good. That's great. I mean, I don't even know why these companies give them anything. It's just to gain that horrible reputation. I don't know. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. This is such a tiny gun. I love it.
Good.
She says, "This is guys." This little girl. She says, "This is such a tiny gun. I love it. The gun is bigger than she is. It's the gun is huge in her little hands." And she says, "This is such a tiny gun." This is Daddy's little girl saying what Daddy says. She cannot even hold the gun properly, and that's why she's having constant jams all the time with any of these guns, guys. So enough. This is just even painful. So she keeps having these failures to eject, and for anyone that hasn't even figured out already, the issue is this: with these polymer guns, you have a frame that is super lightweight. The frame weighs nothing at all. This has no mass. So with a Browning system, what you have is a system by which the slide is going to be going back, but you need something to hold on to that frame for that to happen. It may well be the mass of the gun. So maybe if this is a steel or even some aluminum frame guns, will have enough mass so as to allow that to happen. But when it's polymer, it needs your support. It needs an adult holding that gun firmly enough. If that's not happening, then it's not going to be working well. You're going to be having these failures that this little girl is having. So it has nothing to do with the gun. It has definitely nothing to do with the ammunition. It has everything to do with a little girl that's just too young, too little, and not strong enough to handle the gun properly. Look, even in adults, I've had this happen to me before. I had someone send me an email saying, "Hey, I bought a Glock because you said they were great, and it's crap. It's failing. I'm getting failures to eject all the time." I was like, man, that's very strange. I mean, if you bought it new, take it back to the gun store and ask for your money back, or have it replaced. And honestly enough, and I appreciate the honesty, I got an email from the same person a few weeks later saying, "You know what? I went to the gun store. The guy at the gun store actually tested it with me, and he was not having any problem. Turns out that I was limp wristing the gun. My grip was just not strong enough, and the gun was just moving around and wiggling too much every time I was shooting it, and without that support, the gun will jam." Now, when the other guy was shooting it, he had zero malfunctions, nothing at all. Limp wristing is a thing. It happens, and especially when you have such light frames in polymer pistols. So that's why she's having this problem. Her hands are just not strong enough to grip the gun properly. For adults, it's really not all that common, even though it does happen. Sometimes when you see gunfights, when people are super stressed, nervous, and sometimes maybe fighting and the grip is not quite there, sometimes you see that stoppage happening. Sometimes something interrupts, touches the frame, the slide, and it interrupts it. But sometimes they just limp wrist it a little bit and they get that failure. Happens. As an adult that shoots somewhat frequently, it's going to be even hard for you to achieve that. I have a hard time getting that stoppage, even if I try doing it. Even if I hold it with kind of like a little finger like that, usually I can get it if I go like trying to have like a good bit of wiggle room. But even with a basic grip, it's very hard to have that happen, and you kind of have to work at allowing that movement so as to get that interruption. But in an 8-year-old little girl, that's definitely not, that's just not the gun for her. Not at this age. She could get maybe a better grip and maybe figure it out. But especially the way she's handling it, many times forgetting about the angle, and this is all about dad wanting to have a successful YouTube channel rather than a father trying to teach his little girl how to shoot right. I took, as I was saying before, I had my 8-year-old shoot my Glock pistol. So what am I talking about here? Well, first thing first, I'm not trying to pimp my kid just to get a lot of subscribers in my YouTube channel. That's number one. Okay, number two, I went through a different process. I had my son shoot air guns. When you have, and here's the advice part, guys, you start with an air rifle, something that's long. Long guns are usually gonna be a lot easier for children to remember how to keep that angle right, pointing in the right direction. You have to emphasize, most of all, this is not about hitting the target, nothing to do with that. With kids this small, it's all about safety. What you have to zero on is how safely is he handling the gun. Is he breaking the angle all the time like this little girl is doing so many times? That's not a good thing. You have to go back to the basics then. So you start with the air rifle, always keeping the gun pointed in their safe direction. What I did is I got my son a PPK air gun, one of these little like a Walther PPK, a metal one. It's pretty much like a replica, weight similar as well, metal. So it's just like a little like a little Walther PPK, but a CO2 pellet gun. And it shoots little pellets. It's fun. Kids love it. It's a small gun, so it's tiny and it fits their little hands well. And he was doing great with that. So my son, by the time he was 8 years old, he was already a member of our gun range. And I took him shooting. And he would get his, ear protection, eye protection, stand in the same line with everyone shooting real guns, and he would shoot his little CO2 PPK. Once I saw that he was comfortable with that, once I saw that he never forgot the angle and the safety rules with safe gun handling, only then we transitioned to a Bursa, a Thunder 22, which is exactly like a PPK in terms of shape and format, and basically the form is the same, but now shooting 22 long rifles. So it's a little pistol that with his 8-year-old little hands, he could shoot quite well, and he did. He was shooting, keeping most of his shots right there in the black, shooting quite accurately with that little gun. That makes sense. That's the way you should go about this, all right? And yes, at some point he wanted to try my Glock 9mm pistol, not this exact one, but pretty much it was a third generation Glock, basically still a Glock 9mm. Now, knowing what I know about guns, and knowing what I know about teaching someone else how to shoot and the precautions you should take, I knew I would had a lot more recoil, so I was there. He took a few shots. He didn't have the problem this girl had. Maybe he was a bit stronger at that same age. Maybe boys are different from girls. Who would have known that? But at 8, he was capable of shooting 9mm and not have these kind of failures. Probably had bigger hands than a girl, for sure stronger than a girl at that age. So maybe all of that comes into play. Maybe it's just a matter of the grip. Maybe my son had a better grip and was not having this problem. So he shot a few with that. Of course, didn't like the recoil that much. So you know what? That's perfectly fine. We'll keep on with the 22 Thunder burst until you get more comfortable. You like shooting this? It's fun. Okay, we'll keep doing this. And then, there's no rush here. When you're comfortable and you want to go again, try with a 9mm, you'll try it again and see how that feels then. The difference is that I'm not trying to, get more views, get more clicks, get people to click on the little girl shooting a pistol. That's not what I'm trying to do. Now, if this same guy was doing the video himself, no one would give a damn. Even if he had his little girl shooting like a 10-22, it would be boring. You want to see this sort of thing, and that's how you get more views. but I don't think it's really that good an idea. It's definitely not the way you should go about teaching kids how to shoot. Eventually, 10, 12 years old, whatever the age, mental development, physical development, a kid 10, 12 can handle a Glock safely. Sure, some of the basic stuff, and then you start getting it more complex, like drawing from a holster, all those things. You have to be careful about all of these and just not rush it. Be respectful of the process and the development, and that's how you do things right. This is not the case. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Have an awesome day. Take care.